How's it going, guys? So we are back. It is October 22nd. It's the night or 2 nights before the semifinals begin. I've had a couple of days to go ahead and watch these quarterfinal matches again over and over. I've watched them each around 2 to 3 times to get a good sense of what happened in the games and do the best job I could of analyzing and seeing exactly what happened so I can go ahead and discuss them here. So we're going to go ahead and do that for all 4 matchups and then go ahead and probably in a separate video do a semifinal breakdown and preview for those matches because I think they're going to be really interesting and exciting to see. So the first match we had of the weekend was Flash Wolves against Orihen. Orihen, I had predicted Orihen to win 3-1, which ended up being the final score, which is great. It's awesome. I got it right on the nose. Although the series was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought the games were going to be relatively close, and then one team was going to take a big advantage in a big team fight, and then snowball the game from there, which tended to be the MO for both of these teams throughout all of their matches so far. I thought Orihen had the better team fight, and we're going to be a lot better in laning phase and take advantage that way, and then win the big team fight. And win pretty consistently. And I gave Flash Wolves a game just because I thought the matchup was closer than expected. But it was even closer than that. All the games were relatively close. Orihen had to backdoor and sort of win a couple of games. But overall, they're pretty in control. When they were down, it really didn't really seem like they were down. And then when they were ahead, it really felt like they were imposing their will. I will have to point out that Niels played extremely well throughout the entire series. Got the Sivir, got the Callista, got Jinx, got a lot of different champions here, and it really showed his palette of what he can do. Even in the game they lost, he played extremely well, and they had a chance to win that game. All 4 games weren't like dominant victories, but they were very competitive, which I like to see. I can't really point out anything NL or Flash Wolves did wrong. Just I think that Karsa didn't put on enough pressure. I think Amazing did a better job of doing that and helping out his team and helping secure and push objectives more so than Flash Wolves did. And I also think Orihen had a better team synergy than Flash Wolves. Not to say Flash Wolves played bad or anything like that, but just there was a little more cohesion there with Orihen. Moving on now to SKT versus AHQ. I predicted a 3-0 win for SKT. Pretty simple there. That's exactly what happened. Not much else to say other than, SKT again showing that they are the most dominant team here at Worlds. The only close, quote-unquote, close game was Game 3. Where AHQ was able to get a little bit of a lead, or not a lead, but just sort of stick into the game longer than the other 2 games. But even then, it was a matter of time because SKT had Marin on Fiora and Faker on Kassadin, as well as Bang on Tristana. They just kind of outscaled AHQ eventually, and just kind of ended up dominating that game overall. The interesting thing, though, is it's weird. In this world, we've seen Faker on less kill-oriented or playmaking-oriented champions, and more on sort of the scale-based mage that we've seen him play Ryze a ton. He played Ryze in this series as well. Had the best Ryze game he's had all Worlds. He was on the Lulu. He played again the Kassadin, and so the Kassadin's sort of different from what we've seen him play the entire world so far. But to be fair, Bang and Marin have stepped up quite a bit and are really putting on a lot of pressure on the map and allowing Faker to sort of play in the background. Although you don't really play Faker in the background, so much energy is put towards stopping Faker that it allows Marin and Bang to go ahead and make plays and do other crazy stuff. And having Bangy and Wolf focus more on helping their side lanes more so than Faker, and just leaving Faker on a bit of an island to go ahead and fend for himself because there's so much attention being brought to him. Just an interesting thought there. But overall, just a very dominating series from AHQ, or from SKT on AHQ. I'd be surprised if anyone thought that AHQ had a chance in that series at all. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on Two Fnatic versus Edward Gaming. I thought this was the most interesting matchup of Worlds so far, or of this quarterfinal matchups, of these four quarterfinal matchups. Uh, just because again, Fnatic looked so good coming into Worlds, and they looked okay during group stages, but they were sort of uptrending. They did really really well. They had a great second week. Uh, and Edward Gaming looked so dominant in the spring, a little less so in the summer. Towards the end of summer playoffs, looked not great, and then coming into Worlds, we weren't sure where they were at. And then they were in the group with SKT, and they were in the group with Bangkok Titans and H2K. H2K and Bangkok Titans were probably the two worst teams in Worlds, so it's very very easy to say that yeah they'll dumpster them, which they did. And then SKT is the most dominant team at Worlds, and so they played the two ends of the spectrum, and it's hard to sort of gauge that when those are the only two things we have to go on, or I guess three things that we have to go on. And so again, still not sure where they're at, if they were back where they were in the spring, or if they're back where they were in the summer. And based on this series, it's the summer. It's the summer. The summer EDG, the little bit weaker one. If I had to point fingers at what kind of went wrong for them, it's Deft and Mako. Koro and Clearlove didn't play great as well. They played okay, but at least they had moments where they looked good, and moments where they were sort of winning their lanes, or winning their, or picking good engagements and things like that. Deft and Mako just did not stand up to Reckless and Yellowstar at all. Reckless and Yellowstar just sort of put them in a body bag throughout every game, and just sort of dumpstered them all up and down the rift, which is surprising. Pawn played really well, but I was surprised at Fevivin as well, going up against Pawn. Fevivin actually had a quote afterwards that said that he thinks that Pawn is overrated, and I would agree a little bit with that estimation. I don't think Pawn is nearly where he was at with Samsung White, and again with Samsung White, we're not entirely sure where he was at, because he did play on such a great roster with a lot of talent around him. But I digress. The stars of the game really were Reckless and Yellowstar, and they really pulled a number on Deft and Mako. Also, some really interesting picks that came out. The Kennen was such a huge pick for Fnatic throughout the second week of groups, and they pulled it out in the first game of the series, the ADC Kennen. And Deft countered that with the ADC Jace, which is another strange pick. Didn't do very, very well on it, and then went and followed back with a Caitlyn in the next game. And again, I think the Jace ADC pick was something to go ahead and maybe counter the Kennen, and it worked out so poorly that they had to ban out the Kennen the rest of the time, or first pick it, which they ended up first picking it and giving it to Mako, but they looked very uncomfortable with that Kennen. And so I think it's EDG's inexperience on that champion, or just uncomfort with that champion, that made this series so one-sided. Just because there's so much attention brought to it, and it allowed them to allowed Fnatic to open up so much, and EDG forced EDG to leave so much open for Fnatic. The games were all relatively fast and quick. Fnatic really didn't let EDG have anything, and they ended up winning 3-0. I thought it was going to be a 3-2 series from Fnatic to Edward Gaming, but again, it was a pretty good stomp from Fnatic. Now the final game, or the final match of this weekend, was KT Rolster against Q Tigers, a rematch of the series that we saw in the playoffs last year, or a couple months ago, from LCK. Really close series. Very close series. Neither team played poorly. I think the only poor game we had was game 2 from KT Rolster. Q Tigers did a very good job of shutting down Someday, and KT Rolster was not able to recover after that. KT ended up jumping out to an early lead, taking the first game, and then after that, Q Tigers ended up going on a roll and just winning 3 in a row. And I will say that this is the Q Tigers that we saw in Spring Split. This is the GE Tigers to a certain extent. The late game shot calling was back on point. Late to mid game scaling comps were there. They just played out it was sort of like the like I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It's they were just absorbing all. It's KT Rolster. It's so to me it's the it's the SpongeBob SquarePants episode where SpongeBob is the bully wants to beat up SpongeBob SquarePants and the bully flounder wants to beat up SpongeBob SquarePants and he keeps hitting all the and finally he goes to beat him up and SpongeBob keeps taking all the punches and laughing about it. That's how this game felt. It kind of like KT Rolster was trying to make all this stuff happen, trying to make all these plays happen, and they were. And KT Rolster or Koo Tigers was just sort of laughing about it, saying, "Okay, it's fine, it's okay. Hit us all you want." And then as soon as they were tired, as soon as they stopped scaling down or scaled down, then Koo Tigers was just making the better decision, coming out late game, is crushing, and doing a way better job at that than KT Rolster was. And so I thought that was a huge reason why that was happening as well. But yeah, that sort of I guess ends the breakdown or sort of the general thoughts I have on the quarterfinal matches, and we'll go ahead and bring it back with the semifinals in just a second.